It's great.
I had a bag. I forgot to bring it to you.
A bag?
Yeah.
Of?
It had Kenny's timeouts that he refused to use. Figured I'd give them to you. Maybe you can make use of them.
Yeah. Oh, let's
forgot to bring it to you.
Let's just dive in there, guys. It was a fourth quarter collapses of all fourth quarter collapses. According to ESPN, it was the second largest fourth quarter collapse in playoff history last night. The Cavs were up 22 points with just over 7 minutes to go. And they didn't even end up covering. That's how bad the collapse was. The Knicks took it to overtime. The Cavs did not score for the first 3 minutes of overtime. And New York ended up with a 115-104 win. There are a lot of fingers to point in the Cavaliers' direction in terms of who deserves the most blame, what went wrong, what they could have changed to avoid this historic collapse. But Earl, I'll start with you. We'll play the blame game. We do this for the Browns. It's only right we do it for the Cavaliers. In your opinion, who deserves the most blame for what we saw last night in terms of the collapse for the Cleveland Cavaliers?
I think right at the top of that blame list, fellas, is Kenny Atkinson. I mean, Jalen Brunson is still out here scoring points, and everybody that's on the Cleveland Cavaliers bench is just still refusing to call a timeout. You're leading this game 93-71 at the 7:52 mark of the fourth quarter, and it was all downhill from there. The Cleveland Cavaliers managed to score just 6 more points before New York tied it and eventually taking their first lead of the second half. I think it's inexcusable to see Jame Harden being cooked the way he was being cooked by Jalen Brunson, to see this man score 15 straight points and nobody thought it was a good idea to call a damn timeout and at least try to slow down the momentum. Like, you should have subbed in Sam Merrill. You should have subbed in Max Strus. Somebody else should have gotten the opportunity to try to slow down like Jalen Brunson. And Dustin, it's just wild that, you know, you got your assistant coach, you got all these bench coaches, and I'm asking myself today, did anybody sitting on the bench like suggest to Kenny, hey, you might want to take a time out here? Because if they didn't, then they're just as culpable as he is for allowing that type of run to go on for as long as it did, and it killed any chance we had of really sustaining the lead.
Yeah, no, it really did. And to say who's to blame, I'm really not going to blame a player in this situation because I thought the Cavs played a damn good basketball game last night overall. I mean, they didn't finish, obviously, but they should have finished had they been put in a position by their coaching staff to finish the game in the proper manner. I thought they took the ball out of the air way too early. That was on the coaching staff to slow things down. I thought the decision to keep Jame Harden in the game when he was getting picked on and couldn't buy a bucket and trying to run the offense through him was a bit it was all on the coaching staff. They're not calling the timeouts on the coaching staff. You can be like, you want to blame Donovan? How you can blame Donovan? Like, he didn't get the ball.
They took the ball out of his hands.
Took the ball out of his hands. Literally took the ball out of his hands in the fourth quarter and overtime. Give the Knicks a ton of credit though. I mean, I've never seen a comeback like that. I mean, they could not miss.
No.
Every shot they had to have. They made. Every time they needed to stop, they got to stop. The Cavs, I thought, had opportunities. They had. I mean, Sam Merrill. You heard Mike Breen. He was bang. Oh, he missed it. Yeah. He almost said bang.
Yeah.
For Merrill to hit that shot to win the game.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, we're not even having this show today. We're having a different show. We're having hey, thank God. It's a thank God show. It's a stole game one show. Instead, we're not talking about stealing game one. We're talking about how the Knicks on their home court stole game one.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. However, there's a silver lining we'll get to because I'm not Mr. Negative today. I promise I will not be all negative like so many people out there.
We'll talk about the players in a sec, but you started with Kenny, so let's get to Kenny. And I like Kenny. Kenny's been very good to me. I think we have a good relationship.
I like Kenny too.
Last night was not a good Kenny Atkinson game. There is no other way to put it. There is no sugarcoating it. There is no silver lining in that individual regard to what we're about to talk about. Kenny Atkinson did not call a timeout from when the Cavs were up 22 to when the lead got cut to 5. He allowed New York to go on an 18-1 run without making a single adjustment. No substitutions. No timeouts called. The Garden was rocking. That is the mecca of basketball, the rowdiest of any crowd in the NBA. And when they got fully engaged, the Avalanche was too late to stop. There was nothing you could do at that point to calm them down. He said afterwards he kept those timeouts in his back pocket because he wanted to use them late in the game. He wanted to have the ability to stop the game, set up an offensive play so the Cavaliers can get a look they wanted if it came to it, right? Well, the situation played out exactly how he said he wanted it to, and he still didn't use the timeout. And to me, you can't have it both ways, right? I understand the thought process of saying, I want to keep my timeouts late. I'll let the run go on maybe a little too long because I want to make sure when we need buckets, I can set up a play. We've been one of the best after timeout offensive teams in the entire league all season long. I want to be able to do that. I'll hear that as I don't necessarily agree, but I understand that thought process. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's fair.
But then when you get there, you have to use it. You can't say, oh, well, now I don't want to call a timeout because I don't want New York to be able to put in their better defenders and not utilize the timeouts that you had saved, that you didn't use earlier to stop some of the momentum, and you can't have it both ways.
Mikey, I sat on my couch last night, and I had friends over, and I'm watching with my wife and some buddies, and I'm watching this in disbelief. I'm sitting there, and no one was talking, and they just kept bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket. Nothing.
I know.
Nothing.
I know.
I was like in a trance.
I know.
In an absolute trance. Like, what just happened? I'm like, okay, well, that's how the players felt. That's how the Cavaliers players felt on the field. So on the court, excuse me. But you've got to try and slow that momentum down. The fans in New York were just losing their minds.
They should have called a timeout earlier. I would never have let, I'm not an NBA head coach.
I would never have let it get to 10 or 11 points.
It gets a 10-point run, you got to call a timeout, stop momentum. By the time he ended up calling a timeout,
it was too late.
It was too late. It was too late. And the other mistake I thought Kenny made last night, and it was exasperated by the fact it continued into overtime, was with what Mike Brown said when they got the win. In his post-game press conference, someone asked him, hey, Mike, what changed in the fourth quarter? And Mike Brown, who's a good coach, said, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. We just started attacking James Harden. And the numbers bear out that New York went after James Harden every single time possible. According to ESPN tracking data, and this is all you can see on the screen, I'll read it, but in the fourth quarter and overtime, they isolated James Harden 9 separate times. Defensively, James Harden allowed him to score 1.88 points per action in those isolations. Since the NBA started tracking defensive player tracking data, that is the most points allowed per action, for any player that had been isolated 8 or more times against in the postseason. In that same stretch, they put him in screens 21 different times, and they averaged 1.6 points per action in that set. Jalen Brunson, one-on-one against Harden, was 7 of 11 down the stretch. And the part that baffles me, the part that I cannot understand, is they allowed the switches to happen. You do not have, there's no rule in the NBA that says if they set a screen, you have to switch. You don't have to concede the switch. And you can see on some of these plays here, Brunson made some really difficult shots and deserves some credit. I thought Harden, on a couple of these, had a good contest, and Brunson just made it. But why are you conceding switches with 5 minutes left when Dean Wade's in the game? Dean Wade's in the game to stop Jalen Brunson. He can't be just saying, here you go, take the mismatch you want, take the advantage you want. We're going to give you the hunt you're looking for. And throughout the entire course of the second half of the fourth quarter and overtime, they conceded those switches way too easily. There was no adjustment made in that regard. And to me, it's inexcusable.
Absolutely.
To me, that's the part that this morning, waking up, I still can't fathom, and I still can't understand, Earl.
Then if you look at it on the offensive side of the ball, Jalen Brunson played most of that stretch down with like 5 fouls. So the way that they were attacking James Harden, why not even come up with the idea to attack Jalen Brunson the same way and getting him out the game? And then, Mike, you can speak to this better than I can, but Donovan Mitchell had 26 points going into the fourth quarter. 3 points in the fourth quarter. I thought for the better part of the game, the man was very efficient, even 6 steals. So he was getting it done on both sides of the ball. For whatever reason, Kenny Atkinson made the decision to take the damn ball out of his hands. And for anybody that's sitting here want to blame Donovan, I'm not even sure
he gets none of the blame.
I'm not even sure how many shots he got to take. It just seemed like the ball stopped moving when the offense wasn't running through him. They stopped double teaming. There was no need to double team anymore. And it was just like it became very stagnant. It became back to the ISO ball that has been ineffective throughout these playoffs when James Harden is running the offense. And Kenny Atkinson, because of either him being James Harden, him being a veteran, or just saying he flat out trusts him, he chose not in real time to make an adjustment that could have helped the Cavs possibly come away with the win.
So Donovan down the stretch, after that 7:45 mark where they were up 20, went 0 for 4 with 2 turnovers in the last stretch in overtime. Right? James was 1 for 6 with the turnover. So neither was good enough, point blank. At the last possession of regulation, the very last possession, tie game, the one where Merrill missed the shot, James had just scored before on Brunson. He got that little turnaround mid-range. That was the only shot he made during that stretch. But Donovan had the ball. And Donovan gave it up to James Harden. Now, Kenny didn't call a timeout. So I don't think this is Kenny saying, and this I'm giving Kenny a little bit of a pass, but I don't know for sure. I don't think this is Kenny saying, hey, give it to James. There's not an Asar Thompson in the equation here to get him out. To me, it looked like Donovan got tired down the stretch. And that's why he was being a little more deferential. He had 6 steals, a career high for him in the playoffs. I don't know if he was just gassed, if he had worn down. He was incredible through the first 3 quarters. I tweeted at the end of the third quarter, he was the best player in the court, and it wasn't close. But either he's hurt, he got tired, whatever. It looked like a different Donovan in the fourth quarter, and I think that's why Kenny tended to go more with the James Harden offense. It didn't work, so it's easy to point in hindsight.
The Cavs were getting.
I don't get it.
Playing great defense. Yeah. They were getting up and down the court. They were making their shots. They were playing with pace, and then they slowed things down. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if they get 2 more possessions and they push it out to 26 points, from 22 to 26, and you're under 5, they're pulling their starters.
We were right on
so
the precipice of that.
We're only 2 possessions away from them pulling their starters, not even and saying, okay, you guys we concede, you got game 1. Well, instead they slowed things down, and that allowed them to get that momentum.
And there's a highlight tape in there, the Cavs' fourth quarter offense. Can you take it full and just play it? These are the last 20 possessions of the Cavs' offense down the stretch. Just watch these all go through. It starts with an Evan Mobley charge. So you start with a turnover. It's like 2. Let's talk this through all together. Then you have James Harden. It's going to go to Donovan, and Donovan turns it over. Back-to-back possessions. This is all happening at the same time. Harden, after a good defensive possession by the Knicks, step-back fadeaway jumper, and it's an okay look, not great. Then Harden missed a free throw. He makes 1 of 2. Yeah. Jared Allen steps up next. Goes 0 for 2.
That was another problem.
We need one of those.
One of those, you win the game.
One of those.
And just watch this keeps going. Now you have Harden attacking again. This is late shot clock.
That's not a good possession.
Not a good look. No. Donovan, step back over Shamet. It's an okay look, not a great look. Can't buy it. Merrill is going to end up finding Mobley here. I thought when Mobley made this, they finally got something. Good look, a little ball movement, Earl, as you just mentioned. Then Harden with 10 on the shot clock. I think it's too early to take a jump shot that far when you're 1 of 8
highly contested jump shot at that.
Donovan drives over OG. You get the tip in from Allen, but I don't love that shot from Donovan. Donovan again drives to Mobley. That's a good look. Just got to make it. Donovan drives again. Floater over a cat. Gets blocked. Not a good look. You're under a minute left. Harden isolating on Brunson. This is the shot he makes. Little step back. That's as good a look as you can get in that situation. Last possession of the game in regulation. It's a good look from Merrill. Got to make it. It's a good look from Merrill.
Out. I mean, it's in and out.
Go to overtime. It's safe to continue, Dustin. Keep talking over this. You guys can see. Not tear up the shot clock violation. They got some decent looks. They just missed every single one they needed to make down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, basketball is obviously a game of runs, a game of luck. It's a make or miss league. We hear people say that all the time, and I get that. And it was a big part of what happened last night. And that's why, I'm not going to go over top and say the series is over like a lot of people. It's 1 game. It's a big game, and it's a tough loss. What's that?
People saying that?
Oh, have you not turned on the radio today? Have you not looked at social media?
No, I haven't.
I looked for 5 seconds and I got off it because I'm like, dude, I'm going to game 3, 4, and 6 when they come back. So the series better not be over because I got tickets to game 6. My credit card got charged.
No, I don't think it's over. I mean, it's 1 game. I've learned throughout this playoff run, you can't overreact one way or another to 1 game.
Bingo.
It's a bad loss, but Kenny Atkinson on the post game spoke to it I've been in this position before myself. He talked about when they were playing Charles Barkley's squad, and they were down 0-2 in that playoff series, and they had lost both of those games by 22 points apiece. And you got to look at it and say, okay, for the better part of that game, the Cleveland Cavaliers played winning basketball.
Yep.
They did the right things for the better part of that game. I thought in the second half they limited to the turnovers, right? It would be nice for them to actually start a game without turning the ball over that much. But for the most part, they did all of the things that you need to do to win. They just didn't do it and a sustained amount of time to come away with the victory. And so you got to be able to wash this one away from your palate, get it out your system, get yourself ready for Thursday night, and try to rinse and repeat what you did, but just do it for the entire 48 minutes of basketball.
I have a would you rather question.
Shoot.
And do we have to take a break in a minute?
Yeah, we got 2 minutes. Yeah, okay.
Would you rather, fellas, have lost last night by 40 or lost the way we lost?
Honestly, probably by 40.
Okay.
I think I would have rather lost by 40.
I'll take last night's loss.
I'll take last night's loss too, because at least we saw that they got something.
We saw.
They can do it.
Yep.
Yeah, but sometimes
Yep, I agree with that.
when you lose by 40, though, sometimes you just chalk it up to that was a bad game instead of a bad epic
Can't we chalk it up to a bad quarter?
You can, but
Domination for 3 quarters?
considering
On their court? Knowing how talented that team is?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
I know,
it goes
but
both.
I just want to
You
have
can
the
make the case for
conversation
both
about it
ways, yeah.
because you can make the argument.
Well, the reason why I would say that way, other than because I get where you're coming from, but when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, we have questioned their toughness in every single layer that you can question, including mentally. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, the first thing I thought about was the game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals, the epic 50-point triple-double. J.R. Smith gets the ball, don't call a timeout, call a timeout late. And it just seemed like the Cleveland Cavaliers emotionally checked out. And so my thing is this. I know that team was tough in every aspect. And there's certain levels of this team that you question if they have the toughness to where it's like, can they bounce back from an emotional defeat like that?
Game 6 against Detroit was hideous, and they came back and won Game 7. Last year, where they lost to the Pacers in Game 2 on that Halliburton bounce-up go-in shot, they came back and won Game 3 on the road by 22. So we have seen this team in spurts, and obviously last year's team, not the same as this year, be able to respond to adversity in a positive light. We also haven't seen them able to close off situations like they should have last night.
The last thing, the J.R. Smith thing, it's good. It's a good point because it was a collapse and they never recovered from it. The little thing he left out there is that LeBron broke his hand in the locker room after the game that no one talks about. So that
very true.
Series is, even if LeBron doesn't smack that stupid chalkboard after that game, I still think it was going to be a series, regardless of what happened with that epic collapse. So listen, guys, this is about mental toughness, and if this team wants to come back and fight, I mean, there's ups and downs, there's peaks and valleys in life and in sports all the way through it. And so we've seen a team that's they were cooked 0-2 to the Pistons. Yep. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
I mean, I saw those fans. I left Game 2 with my tail between my legs with all those Pistons fans yelling, Detroit! D's, you know what?